Dear all, I am Laura Matukaita, Media and Communication Manager at CC. Welcome to today's CC-Webinar.live panel discussion and knowledge sharing session. And thank you for joining, everyone. I would like to give a microphone to Vida Schmidt, CEO at Dario Community, to welcome you all on behalf of the team. And Vida, over to you.
Thank you, Laura. Good morning, CC partners, members, and friends. Very glad to see you all in good health, and I hope your beloved ones are also in good health. Who would have thought that after 12 months ago that we will not be able to meet in person and greet each other in Berlin, and instead we are connected and meeting each other via our screens. On the one hand sad, but on the other hand, thanks to the advanced technology, we are able to connect and also use technologies to share knowledges and continue the discussions addressing relevant topics in our industry. In the past 8 weeks almost, or 10, I would say, in the very challenging weeks of uncertainties and fears, thanks to the dedicated and fantastic job of the CC team, we managed to stay focused and with our positive spirit to come up with new, basically digital innovative solutions to offer our members and community new ways to stay connected and do business, literally. And very proud that we launched our CC-Webinar.live session, that today we all experienced it live together with us, and we hope that we will be able to help organizations to use our digital channels and webinar live sessions to share their messages, promote their brands, and I would like also to say thank you to our special trusted partners, Zycom and Lang. In fact, while we're having this live webinars, some of our community members are acting online through our meeting planner to arrange one-to-one digital meetings. So I wish them all good luck as well. And next week we will again have our online event. We call it GCCM online event, but also our webinar live session. I would like also thank Jose for taking the time and moderating this session. Thank you so much, Jose, and founder at GTC and our CC Global Ambassador. And also to thank all the panelists in different countries, Fabrizio from Switzerland, Dario from UK, Edwin, I think also from UK, Miguel and James, thanks for joining today's session and sharing your knowledge and expertise with all of us. I would like also to thank our members, audience in the background for joining and listening. If any questions, like Laura mentioned, please press the button, raise hands, or use the messaging tool to send your questions to Jose to address it to the panels. And also to show our solidarity, we raised about €200 funds which we will donate to the Global Response Europe, and the funds to help to develop and deploy universal diagnostic treatments and vaccines against the coronavirus. We will also conduct a survey after our events to understand the importance of such platforms and webinars to see how it helps our members with their daily business, and if we should come up with these special initiatives in the future again. And I can only say, let's stick together, support each other in these difficult and challenging times for all of us, to keep our community stay connected and our platform stay alive, and so that we can carry on with the work with a good work for a good cause and a healthy future for all of us. I wish you all a productive and interesting session, a successful one. And I hope to see you all in Berlin in end of August. And in the meantime, please stay safe and healthy. Thank you, Laura. Over to you.
Thank you, Rita. And now I would like to welcome Jose to moderate the session and welcome all panelists. For audience, just to remind you that if you want to ask a question, use the chat box option, or at the end of the session, we will have a time assigned where you can raise your hand and I will unmute you so you can ask your question verbally. So over to you, Jose.
All right. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. It's a special moment and a special time. And I'm very excited to have many interesting people today, not only as panelists, also in the audience. I can see it's very, very impressive. Right now, already 72 participants and more and more joining minute by minute. Thank you also, Vida, for giving me a reason to grab out the jacket from the wardrobe. It was already a bit dusty, I have to admit, but here it is, still fits after gaining some kilos in this confinement time.
You're welcome, Jose. You look great.
That's a good sign. So here we are. So we have quite an international combo of panelists today that at the same time are very relevant players in the industry. And I can consider them messaging experts, all with a slightly different expertise. This makes it interesting. We have software vendors, consultancy, CPaaS vendor, we have an operator, we have MEF with Dario, that is like an industry organization that is representing something he will explain in a moment himself. And probably, Dario, you just start introducing yourself and then we just go through the rounds quickly.
Sure, thanks very much, Jose. Dario Betti, as Jose was introducing from MEF, which is a bit of a strange thing that you were referring to. We're not non-sort. We're a trade body. We represent our members. We're very glad to see some of them in between our participants and between this panel as well. So as a forum, we bring together some of the people and we bring together some of the discussions. So I hope I can reflect back on all the things that I heard, and I can tell you all the things we are preparing as a community.
Excellent. Fabrizio?
My name is Fabrizio. I'm the CEO of HORISEN. Thank you, Jose, for the invitation to be panelist here with all those experts. What is HORISEN doing? We are a software vendor. We are enabling companies to enter into the messaging world, be it in the wholesale or in the retail part of the business.
Excellent. James?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is James Williams. I'm the founder and CEO of MrConnectivity. I've been in business 7 years now, and I work across the mobile engagement industry. In the past couple of years, my focus has really moved to the enterprise side of things. So I really specialize now on helping enterprises make the most of mobile engagement and to connect better with their own team members and client base.
Excellent. We'll need your view today. Edwin, please.
Welcome, everybody. So my name is Edwin Carvalho. I'm the Senior Carrier Service Director at Vonage. Vonage is a leading CPaaS platform in the industry.
Very famous. Miguel, please.
Good morning, everybody. Happy to see so many participants. So my name is Miguel Calvo, working at Orange, long history in wholesale industry, and look forward to discuss a very lively industry at this moment. Challenging times for everybody.
Okay, so we jump right into it. Yeah, we mentioned a couple of times already during the introduction, different times, challenging times. Nobody mentions like time of opportunities. but for sure many will agree that it's probably a time that opens up opportunities too. Now, Dario, I think you're working together with Mobile Squared on a market study that is supposed to analyze the impact of COVID-19 on the messaging industry. I know it's still cooking, but is there anything you can tell us regarding the expected results?
Well, I think we'll have to wait a bit more for full results, but let me give you some insights. And I shouldn't steal the thunder from Mobile Square report, but definitely I can tell you something. The first, when we started within the lockdown period, I started asking our members how things were going. And that meant for us as well, checking with them on their business. Some of them were very transparent and they started saying, well, I'm in a challenging position, but also an opportunity position, just like you said, Jose. Some of our members have seen something in lockdown as 15-20% of their business disappearing, which is a big numbers. Some others have been able to maintain it, and some more have been able to grow. All of that, it depends on what mixture of the enterprises you might have and the services you're offering. If you were linked to retail, that was pretty bad. Now, the real question you probably ask me as well is what happened next? And our crystal ball doesn't go that far, but I would definitely say that there is an opportunity for some. Just like we've seen before, things are developing. The request for marketing automation, so making sure that fewer people are necessary to talk, to respond to a phone, or to even say, or help in delivery. All of those parts of the economy are really gearing up to a massive utilization of messaging itself. Now, once again, if you're probably more linked to a more traditional business, that there's some more discussions to be done, and there might be some budget restriction. As you know, the overall economy is going down that trend of negativity for the next few months as well. So there is going to be a bit of a challenge, as you were saying, but we also see the opportunity. We'll see how much the balance between the two of them will do. It's certain that you need to be flexible. You need to go after the right business. That's probably one of the key requirements for a healthy messaging strategy right now.
Mm-hmm. So obviously the question is, what is the right business? What is the wrong business? And we would like to have answers to that. Edwin, you're working for a CPaaS player that is at the same time a very relevant aggregator of A2P SMS on a global scale. Can you tell us how you have experienced the pandemic effects so far?
Sure. So that's actually a really interesting question. What we've seen so far is some streams of traffic have gone down. And I think everybody expects it. If we think about the tourism industry, aviation, and other big streams of traffic, they have, of course, decreased. But what we're seeing, and actually our CEO mentioned it in our investor report just last week, is companies are accelerating digital transformation as a consequence of this. So especially large government organizations and companies that would normally take 2-3 years to actually implement a big digital transformation project. This is at the top of their priorities. It's taking them sometimes weeks to actually implement a project that normally would take years. So if we think on the long term, we actually see this as something that will be good for the industry, although it's unfortunate that it comes as a consequence of so many people losing their lives. But for the industry, it actually will force companies to think a lot more about how do they communicate with their customers, how do they communicate with their employees, and actually take action to implement solutions that are completely digital.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Edwin. Very, very interesting. So on one side, you felt that you have been losing, especially in the industry verticals that you mentioned. Not a big surprise. On the other side, you see that that you have areas where you're probably winning or improving. Miguel, you're working for a large operator group. I can imagine which areas might be heavily impacted for operators, but I would prefer to hear it from you. Miguel, how is it impacting the revenues of the operators?
Obviously, everything which is international, as Edwin already mentioned, is heavily impacted, as people are not allowed to travel. So everything which is roaming related and everything international related has a very heavy impact. How much longer term, that still has to be, of course, to be seen. On the national side, of course, there has been enormous increase with everybody teleworking, remotely working on the volumes. So on our international, huge decrease, on our national, a huge increase. Of course, retail sales, as the shops have just reopened in our market yesterday, with people queuing up. So there certainly is a demand for the national market as well. So you win some, you lose some. How it will pan out, too early to say. Our results are not final yet. But of course, impact negatively on retail sales, partially compensated with online sales and telesales. International, so roaming, international SMS, heavily impacted logically. So, but a bit too early to see the outcome. But as you see, a very big impact in the enterprise side as well, where capacity, automation, new technologies, unified communication platforms, which normally take a long period with big enterprises to implement, are rapidly implemented and are there to stay for sure. Of course, the quantity of traffic will decrease over time when people gradually return to offices. But if you look at tendencies, maybe 30–40% of people will be remaining at least partially in home working, which was a lot less previously.
Yeah, interesting insights from an operator. James, you were nodding when Miguel referred to the enterprises. Now, from your angle, you know, you are very close to the enterprises, what they need, the tools they use in order to engage with customers. Is there any opportunity that you clearly see in these times for enterprises that you can probably tell us about?
Certainly. I think actually the opportunity is really for people on the call to really help enterprises better. So you've heard of the phrase cash is king, and I think very, very few people realize the period of economic depression as a whole the world is entering into. I know, for example, Miguel was just saying certain shops, etc., opening up where he is in Belgium, but that is not the case in large parts of the world. So people also tend to forget that the majority of new growth in the world of messaging, as in new creation of new jobs and new wealth, is coming actually from small and medium-sized enterprises. And these are the ones that have been absolutely hit the most generically across the board. They don't have the cash reserves of the big companies to hang around and wait for a government to do something and release the lockdown for 6 months, 9 months, depending on certain verticals and restrictions. So for them, content is very, very important. But how do they get the content they want out to their client base? We know SMS has the ubiquity and is therefore the central pillar of mobile engagement globally and will remain so for a certain time to come, unquestionably. Of course, we have other channels like WhatsApp and other things in the wings as well. But what small enterprises and media enterprises lack is the technical knowledge base, the breadth and depth of personnel to actually help them in this area. And we all know APIs, the power of APIs, a great cloud solution and all this stuff, multi-channel, omni-channel. How do we bring this to smaller companies and help them grow and sustain them? And I think that is the challenge. And we need to get it across to them that this world of APIs and omni-channel, it doesn't have to be complicated. With the right partners and who provide the right customer support, even small companies can take advantage. So that for me is the challenge from everyone on this call, getting the message across to these smaller and medium-sized companies who are the big growers of our industry, the true growth of our industry, that they can use this stuff as well. And it's not just the reserved for giant corporations.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this builds the bridge to Fabrizio. Fabrizio, how can companies support enterprises in order to participate in the world that James just described? So he highlighted SMS and its ubiquitous channel, but actually described a world that is actually enriching the messaging space that goes beyond SMS. Can you tell us how software vendors, for example, as your company, can help the industry in that aspect?
Well, you can describe like we are kind of a mission. This means not everybody Googles and finds the tool online and then put the credit card out and then teach themselves how the things work and just have an A to Z one-stop shop online and purchase their service online. I think the mission is to go to the even small clients, explain the tools, what they can do, establish it, be it an on-premise or a cloud version. I think the smaller the client, the more it is a cloud version. And then to explain them what are the advantages, how they can profit, what the big ones can do, and they are doing already, how the small bakery next door could profit from, let's say, the fast way of communicating via SMS or other digital channels. And this is a big opportunity for our industry. You know, not everybody buys it online. You know, the smaller, the less they do. You know?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So James mentioned SMS. So I think we can agree, despite of the temporary, I call it temporary crisis we're going through, SMS is still the main revenue driver in our industry. It's feeding many of us, I have to say, and we have to thank SMS. We have to be thankful. It's a big thing. Now, my question is SMS not good enough, or is just something that requires some friends to the left and to the right in order to have their space in the market? James, what would you say?
Okay, so SMS has proven its worth, it's proven its longevity, and I think there's this perception that younger people aren't using SMS at all, don't really understand it. But what we've got to remember with smartphones, your messaging app, it's one inbox, and whether it's SMS, whether it's any other channel, all the messages flow into one space. So psychologically, younger people don't actually understand it's SMS. It's different from a text chat, from WhatsApp or anything. They're treating it as the same. So actually, they understand SMS very, very well as well. So that is a reason why it's still around, it's still in people's consciousness. Many of you on this call will remember MMS when it came along. And I was heavily involved in that as well, earlier in the early days. And I thought, wow, this is really going to kick SMS out. You've got the whole visual element, which people find truly appealing coming along. But for a variety of reasons, the MMS didn't quite work. We have RCS, which I know we've talked about a lot in many panel discussions. RCS is definitely gaining a lot of traction now, definitely. WhatsApp, which of course, I know there's been a carrier community panel, not panel discussion. We've had Andreas from GTC as well. He's been talking about WhatsApp as well. So there's so many channels around, but SMS purely and simply because every single SIM-enabled mobile device can at least receive SMS. It's there available for everyone. So ignore it at your peril, but we live in a multi-channel world. Lots of people talk about omnichannel, but few people, when you're working with enterprises, they like using the word omnichannel because they hear it from you guys. But the reality is implementing omnichannel is super, super hard. Very few people understand the difference between multi-channel and omnichannel. The two are very different. Everyone on here, their companies, if they offer SMS and they offer WhatsApp connectivity, that's multi-channel. But can you do the two seamlessly in one conversation? Very, very, very few companies, I can tell you, can. So that's why SMS is still around. There's so many other channels around there, but these will grow. The good news is the messaging market as a whole is growing. Enterprises want more connectivity, but this is where I mentioned the word content. They've got to choose the timing of it, who to aim it at. So the customization and the personalization element is very, very important. So platform vendors like Fabrizio, the ability to really target certain groups of clients for one of his customers is going to become even more important.
So what's the contribution of the rest of the ecosystem? Edwin, it would be interesting to know from a CPaaS offering perspective, to what extent you can support enterprises to be part of this multi-channel game, if not omni-channel. Is there anything special that the CPaaS offer can contribute to enrich the ecosystem to enable enterprises that, let's say, a standard SMS aggregator cannot offer?
Sure, and in many ways I do agree with what James is saying. I think SMS is king, first of all. It's particularly difficult to actually offer a full omni-channel solution to enterprises. What I think Vonage and a lot of CPaaSs are doing is actually make it as easy as possible for enterprises to offer or to actually offer this omni-channel experience. And it's done in many different ways. We are an API company. Not every company is an API company, and what we're doing is offering, for example, a single API over which companies can actually send WhatsApp messages, SMS, voice calls, Facebook messaging, and other channels. By actually having it all in one API and actually documenting well that API, giving a lot of flexibility to the user, allowing the user to actually design their own workflows, we're trying to actually give them the tools to offer this omni-channel solution. And I'm saying us, Vonage, because it's the case I know the best, but I would say most of the CPaaS players are doing the same. Is this the perfect solution? Probably not for every single company. And we've spoken a little bit about enterprises here, but also about small companies. And every single company has different requirements and also have different levels of technical expertise. So I don't believe in a one-size-fits-all. Our solution is tailored to a large number of companies, but probably not the whole market. And probably Fabrizio, as a software vendor, will have other solutions that will be better for certain segments of the industry.
So how do we see the market developing in general? Is it adapting quickly, new technologies, new channels, or is it rather having a big problem to overcome a complexity? It feels like a complexity. Probably there is a solution out there that is plug and play, or probably not. Any view on that? Dario, you have like a wide angle view of the industry. What's your view here?
Yes, I'm MEF, global trade body. We like every solutions. We cannot have any choices, but there's a couple of things that you probably are hinted at right now, which is almost a horses for courses. Some channels are better at certain things, etc. So if you're still looking at SMS, we've seen it right now. It's still the universal reach. We found it, and that's probably still true, and we've seen it. However, the richness of our platforms, and James was mentioning that RCS, but and also I think Edwin was saying there's a lot of OTT platforms out there. All of them are there at your disposal, and you need to probably plug and play a different one. So we're moving from a solution which was a pure technology, give me the pipe to send something, to a much more complex orchestration element. And so what you're saying is it's now harder because you need to understand the need of the customers, and you need to understand the different channels. So the great single plug and play is actually a myth right now, because it's not plug and play, is listen, understand, and then play something. And the listen and understand is what we as an industry overall, I find it sometimes difficult. So I applaud everybody here because they're trying to do something which is not as easy as it might have been in the past, but it's highly rewarding. We have listened to some of the examples of SMEs, very nice, with no background on messaging and technologies, realize the potential. And some of our members, you'll read, everybody's got a different one, are offering discounted or free or pay later for these SMEs that have got real issues. But they're creating fantastic solutions and they're becoming future customers. So this is an area to invest in that kind of relationship, in that kind of understanding we're talking about. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I answer exactly, Jose, but I think there is a bigger study there, not a single solution, but relationship is what we need to build as well.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I think it's all about education at the end of the day. And what we as an industry need to educate all the companies out there, but we need to make it simple. The more options someone has. So if you think about when you were at school, I remember school lunches, it was very simple. It was either you have this or you have this. We had two choices. But now it's like walking to a restaurant with a huge menu. What the heck do you choose? How do you do it? And you have one company saying, no, RCS is the flavor of the month. And this other company go, no, go with WhatsApp. And no, stick with email. No, go with SMS. What do these companies do? And these companies then go, to heck with it all. We'll just go with what we've been doing and carry on. So we as an industry have got to get our story straight. We've got to provide education. We've got to keep it simple. We cannot assume that every organization is set up like Airbnb or Amazon and everyone like that. They are not. Yeah.
Some enterprises might tell you, yeah, simple as email.
Correct. I'm not joking. If we come out with all of this stuff, so let's say...
And then we're out. There is the business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly that.
I mean, have you seen an email revival somehow? Or is it like losing?
I don't see an email revival, but email is not dead. Email is not dead. It's like the original rich content channel is video. And video is used so much now, and people actually don't talk about it. But if you look at all campaigns and everything, the video component, the visual component is there so much now. So email, I wouldn't say it's making a resurgence. You can see some of the questions actually coming in on the chat. One person asking about the phishing side of things. So John O'Connor asking about the spike of phishing problems in the SMS domain, and is that going to impact SMS usage? But as with anything, the more something is used, the more fraud there is going to be coming into a channel. But I personally don't see, for example, that phishing side of things going to impact things too importantly. But this is where the whole quality part of our industry we know and love, the importance of using direct connections comes in. And at the end of the day, enterprise clients, they want their customers to have a warm, fuzzy, fluffy feeling about receiving content from them. And there's nothing warmer than having the header tailored to the sender, tailored to the actual company sending the content. So let's get back to basics and do that. And let's give people confidence, because people truly need confidence in this day and age. Especially now.
Oops, sorry. Can I start the debate with James? I think I like the message from John. We as MEF are doing two things. One is we survey customers. We're doing it for the last 6 years on those questions as well. And I would say that overall, SMS is so widely trusted, more than email and others, because we've seen less of these issues. But we've also seen how progressively is actually the trust is being eroded by things like that. Now, MEF operates for the industry in UK, the platform for the SMS sender ID, so avoiding phishing in SMS. And we've seen a spike, not just in UK, but in UK, I can tell you the numbers. In 3 days, we had 70 attempts, 70, to create a fake campaigns around coronavirus, UK government. And the numbers in 2 days, the number have been phenomenal. And we might still seriously risk a negative impact unless the industry does something like in UK, blocking something, etc. So I think overall there needs to be the other part. This is a great opportunity with the success of the SMS channels the government uses to communicate to their citizens, so there must be value there, but also comes all of the interest from the fraudsters. So I would welcome everybody to try to look at it, because James, you're right, there is a great quality industry that does the right thing. There are some people out there that are not trying to do the right thing. You need to kick them out as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Dario. And now, one question for Miguel. You're working for an operator, and the operator you're working for looks like an RCS enthusiastic company. What's your personal view on that? You think that RCS will have a chance in this ecosystem representing multi-channels that we are not even aware of these days?
It certainly has a chance, otherwise we wouldn't be betting on putting our resources behind it. But if there's a guarantee that it will be, let's see, widespread enough and compatible enough to be a real omni-channel contender, that future has to be shown. You look at RCS, we have been having discussion for almost a decade now. If you look at which countries have a real well-functioning and rapidly growing RCS volume business and are making revenues on it, it's still quite limited. Is it a bet? It's yes, it's a bet, but not something that we know for sure that it will generate enough traffic to be interesting. We support all channels that are helping enterprises and customers to have a better service. So hence why we invested in it. Do we have a guarantee? No. It only will be successful is all operators in the country or in the continent will be embracing on a technology which is compatible. Because that's always the issue. If you have ecosystems which are closed, which are not open to others, then of course you limit the success anyway.
I mean, we had, correct me if I'm wrong, we had the big hope with Google pushing it hardly. And we had the GSMA also backing up, and also in very big and very relevant operator groups backing up RCS. And what's the big hurdle here in order to gain traction?
It's a simple business case. If you look at what is the investment required to roll it out and the potential revenues out of it, it's still limited. Of course, we're discussing mostly SMS here, but if you look at messaging, the total revenue stream, it's still quite limited. And overall, there's other priorities which have a much higher potential. So it's a question of which is the potential technology and revenue stream which will generate the highest return. And I'm sure it's not RCS.
Okay, I mean, it sounds like SMS might face difficulties because probably it's not offering the experience of rich media that the industry is asking for, not always the two-way functionality that the industry is asking for. This might leave a space for OTT channels like WhatsApp or Viber. What's your view? Is you think it's like that, or you think?
Of course, the reason that SMS is around is that it's global. It's ubiquitous. Everybody who's got a phone and that's a mobile phone can receive SMS and can respond in principle. Of course, not always two-way in the A2P scenario, but in P2P that still works and continues and will continue to be there. If you look at the OTT channels, this certainly is part of the omni-channel or multi-channel approach, whatever you want to call it. But the reach is, for the biggest one, 1/7 of SMS, I think more or less. So that's still a big gap. You still mix 6.5 billion people. And that's only one part, because of course, a lot of the A2P messaging is in the IoT space. We haven't discussed that part yet, but still a lot of the functionalities and why 2G networks are still maintained in a lot of countries is basically simple communication on a machine-to-machine basis.
And that area will grow rapidly now, truly rapidly.
Absolutely.
One of your favorites, one of your favorites, James. Now, gentlemen, we have a massive list of questions. So the audience has been very active while we were speaking, and they go on and on, you know. So let's give them the chance to pick out one, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions and see if we can answer. Dario, I know that you are time limited today, so you let us know when you have to leave us. In worst case, we continue without you. Yeah.
I might have to. Well, thank you very much.
You have a good day. Thank you very much. So, John O'Connor from Telia. So he's commenting the phenomenon of SMS phishing fraud case, and he's actually asking if a fraud case like the SMS phishing phenomenon will have a negative result, actually a damaged trust in SMS as an enterprise channel.
Well, it will, as long as operators don't implement firewalls and have a great partner or a great team to actually stay on top of all the new threats coming into the market. So that's truly important security side of things. I still don't understand why every mobile operator in the world does not have an SMS firewall, separate from a signaling firewall, I may add. I don't know, and I just don't understand it. It should be an absolute given that you have that, and you have a company that knows the industry managing that on your behalf, because it's not, A2P is not the same as P2P, but SMS will still be here. Yes, there's an increase in the phishing side of things, but it's here. And I know certainly in the US, it's one of the other questions here. The US, you hear a lot about SMS. Over here on the European side of things, we hear more about WhatsApp, but underpinning everything is still SMS, and that will still stay. But yes, there is a lot more work the industry needs to do and can do with regards to fraud elimination. But the operators have got to do this. They've really got to get more involved and more understanding of this, because there are plenty of companies on this call that can help them. I can see from participants.
Yeah. So Eugenio Bradas from BTS is asking why in North America the focus is still on SMS, while Europe the focus is more on WhatsApp. I don't know, Edwin, probably you can comment to that. I mean, you are like a very big player when it comes to SMS in the US.
Sure. Actually, it catches me a little bit by surprise. I think WhatsApp is truly universal, and actually we are quite big in the WhatsApp space at Vonage.
Yeah.
And what we've seen is, you know, Europe is a region that's doing really well when it comes to WhatsApp, US too, but actually the strongest regions aren't Europe or North America. So other regions around the world, including Middle East, some regions in APAC are doing extremely well with WhatsApp. In terms of Europe versus America, well, we see messaging doing extremely well in both regions. And we don't see that difference in focus, to be really honest. We see European companies wanting to increase their messaging usage. Some are open to the omnichannel experience, and when they are looking at omnichannel, they look at a number of solutions from voice, WhatsApp, Facebook, RCS, etc., similar to the American companies.
Yeah, I think it's also a matter of penetration rate. I think the penetration rate is lower in the US when it comes to WhatsApp, isn't it?
I believe so. I think Facebook Messenger
is lower, yeah. So might have an impact. Also, SMS is cheaper, correct, in the US than in Europe?
It is.
Yeah. So probably it's another factor. It could be a number of factors. we have a question from, because Shailesh, he's just commenting, Emil Nikolov, well, he's asking if we have data regarding the drop of volume in Q1 as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we mentioned it initially, Emil. There are studies currently done actually by MEF and Mobile Squared that will be published soon. Other than that, we can say that messaging in general has been impacted. Edwin mentioned a couple of industry verticals where actually Nexmo, Vonage felt the drop clearly. But I personally know from many aggregators that were focused on retailers, actually on national level, less on international, that suffered it massively. You know, some players where the traffic went down to even to 70% approximately. So, however, we don't have concrete numbers. Any comment?
I just wanted to say that although we do see some drops in some verticals, some other verticals have gone up massively. So,
very good.
Governmental organizations, they're sending a lot more traffic than before. If you the telehealth or medical industry, that they're sending a lot more messages than they did before. So it's a very difficult question, I believe. In some markets, the amount of total traffic has increased quite significantly. It really will depend on market to market. It will depend on industry to industry. It will be interesting to see MEF's report, MEF and Mobile Squared report, and see, as we're collecting this information from a large number of aggregators and a large number of markets, what that industry report actually indicates.
Yes. Okay, we have a comment from Shailesh. He's actually referring to the complexity that the enterprises are confronting, and that they just need to understand, and also end customers will need to understand, you know, if there is a plug and play solution out there. So this is something we commented also before. Kunal is asking if RCS will be the new killer technology. I think from the discussion, especially with Miguel, the time is probably not necessarily on their side, even though industry forces are on the side of RCS, like Google and GSMA, a number of operator groups. Yeah, Shailesh continues with RCS, so he's very excited. Let me see what else we have. Yeah, so Wesley Burgess, he's referring to the fake DLR phenomenon. It's I think it's a painful topic. I would like to hear your view, gentlemen, on the fake DLR, to what extent it is harming the messaging industry in general. Yeah.
Well, fake delivery takes away the reliability of the channel. And I think what in our heads is still there is that if you send an SMS, the SMS arrives in time everywhere. It doesn't matter on which part of the planet you are. If this you cannot rely on anymore, then this is for sure damaging this channel of SMS. So I think reliability is king. You know, if we start to treat that bad, that's not good for our industry. But there are a lot of testing tools all around the world. I mean, if you want to find out who is doing these games, if you test the route and punish him by not sending the traffic there anymore as soon as you see a drop or a DLR drop. So I think at the end, money rules, and it's up to you to choose the right route where you know that the delivery will be reliable. So this is the medicine what you can try, but it's work. It's not just done like that. You know, you have to do something.
The testing tools actually demonstrate that the delivery is a fake notification. However, the enterprises have the difficulty to find a provider.
Well, the enterprises, well, what we've got to understand is, for years and years and years, since most of us have been in industry, we've been thinking, oh, it's all about SDR, FDR, UDR, successful delivery ratio, failed delivery ratio, unknown delivery ratio. The industry's driven around that. But I can tell you, many enterprises now, it's all about the conversion ratio. So how many people actually start using an app they've downloaded? And that's how they choose or whether to stay with an aggregator or not. So they don't really look at the successful delivery ratio. If a vendor is using a connectivity partner that creates these fake delivery receipts and everything, it's not exactly going to help with conversion. So within 24 hours, they're out and they will never be used again because there's so much choice. There's so many content delivery providers around the world. So the world of enterprise is now moving heavily towards conversion ratios as the great measure and not successful delivery, failed delivery, because all they care about is they want to get someone using the app or buying their services. So that's where it's moving to. And for many, many enterprises, they don't have patience now. And in this, and particularly in this really, really difficult period, very few people understand the economic depression we're going to go into. They think we're going to bounce back in a nice V. It's not. It's going to be a very deep U like that. And they have long memories and they have a lot of choice out there. So we need to get it right. And if you are caught using fake routes, saying something's direct, you will not be used again. End of story.
Yeah, that's very clear. If this is detected, you are completely, immediately kicked out of a direct connection. We're very strict on that.
Yeah, and I can see some of the questions coming in about the pricing side of things on A2P and the crazy low pricing. So it's very tempting for an enterprise to think, oh, we can save 20% by moving our messaging to a cheaper provider. We've received this offer. But generally in life, you get what you pay for, and that includes messaging generally.
Yeah, Laura, one question. We have so many questions from the audience. What's the time looking like?
Hey, Jose. Time is up, and I think we should go towards the end of this panel discussion. Okay. So thank you so much, everyone, for the questions, and thank you, Jose, for moderating. And thank you for panelists for joining and sharing your knowledge. Thank you for the audience for tuning in and listening. We are looking forward to see you in our next planned webinar for the 19th. And actually, I was told that we should extend by 10 minutes more. So
lots of questions, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, if you guys okay, if you have time, we can extend it by 10 minutes. Is everyone okay with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay.
All right.
Okay, so we will do the exception today, and we will extend the session. Okay, so
actually,
let's just look at
as many attendees as when we started, so people are staying.
Yeah.
I mean, an interesting question here. Shouldn't the price for A2P SMS termination shouldn't be a standard price all over the globe? Interesting. Any comments on that?
Absolutely. You always have a correlation with the national prices, which are often regulated. So that's the big issue. If you want to have a global price, if you have a discrepancy with your national price, you create arbitrage opportunities. Hence why it's very difficult to have a global price, even if you are a group, because your correlation to your national regulated price, most of the cases, is very important. Hence why this is, nice theory, but in practice, very difficult to implement.
At the end of the day, you've got basic economics. So if a country with a GDP of $1,000 per head and a country with a GDP of $100,000 per head, we want people to use messaging. And if you set your price too high, in any country, people will not use the messaging so much at all. So it has to be sustainable price for all.
Another interesting question from Sharad Kumar. What role operators can play to help aggregators to further extend support to enterprises? So Normally, I know it the other way around, but how operators, and this is a fair question, can help aggregators to have better service for enterprises. Any views on that?
Maybe I think the way that operators can help is, first of all, provide a secure, reliable channel with proper support. Also, look at the features and capabilities that they're offering. A lot of operators just offer a normal connection for SMS termination, but I think the messaging universe is a lot more than just one-way unidirectional messaging. There's two-way messaging, there's other products around it. There's client information in a few cases. All of this can actually allow for more advanced use cases, and this can help enterprises grow and communicate with their customers.
I think also the MNOs can support with the price, the whole market. I mean, the cheaper the price, the more business cases you have, and this drives for sure volumes. If you have a high pricing policy, well, I don't know if you can cover all the business cases. And I think in America, in North America, why there is really a huge amount of traffic in SMS is because the price is low. You come down to a price where the SMS is almost the cost of an email. If you use email providers like MailChimp or something like that, it's extremely cheap. And we in Europe, we are unfortunately far away in certain countries of that. And if you see the high-priced countries, less business cases, less traffic. So this is where they can support for sure the enterprises with fair pricing.
All right. Thank you, Fabrizio. Kunal Mittal from Mumbai, well, he's commenting on the restrictions that are suffered in order to deliver A2P rates. I guess he's referring to operator imposed restrictions, probably also regulatory. Do you see that the restrictions when it comes to deliver A2P SMS might have a negative impact on the SMS development?
Sure. Sure. I mean, the more restrictions you have, the less attractive it is. I mean, imagine you should go to the marketeer and just say, look, use SMS as a channel, but you're not allowed to do this. Then you have to whitelist that. Then you have to ask your mom for permission. I mean, with 1,000 rules, it's very hard to convince, that to use this channel. The easier it is, I mean, some regulations make sense and they are good. But if you exaggerate, this is a blocker because then they choose just the next channel available, and there are many, so the more regulations, I think, the less attractive the channel is.
And some of the regulations are needed, I think, in the sense of, as an operator, we are within the regulatory framework, certain content is not allowed, which I think is
exactly. The law should regulate the thing,
exactly.
And not the rules, the homemade rules by the operator or by the OTT, which just do whatever they want because it's their own platform. I think the basic should be the law, and that should be enough for the regulation, from my point of view.
All right. So we have many people from India today. Actually, Globetel Teleservices, the CTO, Rajiv, he's referring to the firewalls that were actually mentioned by James. He's doubting that the firewall are effective enough and what can be done to make them probably more effective.
A firewall isn't effective. A firewall has zero effect. A firewall is only as good as the rules that are on top of it and how often the rules are updated and changed and the blocks imposed. The problem is, when it comes to mobile operators, hardly any mobile operators allow their firewall vendor, their security expert in the SMS space, to actually make the changes immediately required on their platform. There is usually a level of service in the service level agreement which says that the vendor can flag up to the operator, but the operator has to be the one to make those changes in their network. And some operators, they go home, the support people go home at 5 p.m. on a Friday. They don't reappear until 8 a.m. on a Monday. Not good enough. They need to have someone 24/7, 365 on call, or you need to trust your vendor to actually make those changes for you to block the traffic which is seen coming through fraudulently, for example. So it's all about trust at the end of the day. And delay creates major issues. You delay for 5 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, and huge amounts of traffic can get through any route. So the firewall is great. It's the managed service which is the important bit. And it's how that provider interfaces with the operator. It's really difficult, I know, because an operator has so many different technology elements, and you can't allow 100 engineers from 20 different companies access to certain parts of the network. But that's actually what is required to be on top of everything.
Thank you very much. We have Wesley from South Africa. He's the CEO of New GUI. And he's commenting actually the fact that many test tools are not reliable since the test numbers become whitelisted. I think it's yeah, Fabrizio is nodding. I think we all know the risk of having popular test numbers in the market. I have to say that there are a number of solutions out there to mitigate the risk. We probably don't have to get into details. An interesting questions here from Raj here in Munich, my neighbor, so to say. So, I mean, he's actually foreseeing that WhatsApp is going to gain lots of traction in the business, Facebook Messenger in parallel. And he fears that in a couple of years, Facebook might becoming the Amazon of the B2C communication industry. Do you see that risk?
I don't see it. I don't see it, to be honest, because we should enjoy the time we are living in right now, because I think in the future, there will be many, many more channels than today. Now we have, let's say, this SMS as being one of the biggest one. WhatsApp is getting traction. But, you know, we all in this panel, we are getting seldom, we are getting older, right? And the new generation is growing up. And who knows what these guys are using? Maybe tools which they still have not been invented, and they will start to chat with that one, you know, and then we should then provide communication channels to reach this audience. So I think it will be in the future more of pillars, or more of, let's say, a lot of amount of different messaging channels where you can reach your audience. You find the oldest one here, the youngsters here, the ones in this country in this messaging tool. And I also, regarding Facebook, at the end, we have also to understand what is the business model of Facebook. They are not in transaction or in sending out messages business model. They sell advertisement, and they use WhatsApp to collect data. They use Facebook Messenger to collect data, and then maybe to enrich their main business model to sell their advertisement more expensive. So I don't see really if they will be the big danger. They will be for sure a big part, but I don't see that they will take it all. Because at the end, they just look for their own main business model, which is selling advertisement.
And you also notice that the speed of young people changing their messaging tool or brand, or whatever you want to call it, channel, is rapidly evolving. So if you look at, used to be Messenger, now it's Instagram or Instant Messengers. It's evolving so quickly, and each market is different. So that's where, if it's not relevant for them in a month's time, they'll switch. And for one group, it's that. For the other group, it's that. So that's something that, from a continuity perspective, is a big problem for the enterprise, that is not relevant for their target group after half a year. If you look at how difficult it is to implement an enterprise CPaaS solution, and then it's not compatible to their target group, that's the big problem that any of these OTT omnichannels has. The quick variation.
This is why I think in 5 years we'll still be talking about SMS.
SMS will remain as the basic.
Because of that.
Exactly.
May I tell a small story? Exactly 20 years ago, I started SMS in the year 2000. You know, I was running around and say, hey, SMS, that's the next big thing 20 years ago. Now look back and see when SMS really in our industry got the boost. You know, how many years it took. And right now I have a déjà vu because we talk about WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, RCS, a lot of other channels, but is the market outside ready for it? I mean, we are producing the early adopters outside. You know, we are the industry which would like to push, but is the world ready? I think we can really relax, and it will take years, you know, that everybody will be ready outside. And I feel back to the times like 20 years ago where new things are coming, but it will take time until it will be really penetrated into the market.
I think at the end of the day, when it comes to an enterprise, so you go to an enterprise to sell them, you come to me, let's say I work for an enterprise, I'm used to paying, let's say, 2 US cents for an SMS. You mentioned this newfangled amazing thing called RCS. I ask you, okay, so how much for a message? And you answer, it depends. It's like, no, that's not good enough.
Gentlemen,
that's
we have
unfortunately the reality. It needs to be really, really simple on a basic little rate card. You need to know where you stand. If I send it by WhatsApp business, the cost is X, SMS, Y, whatever the other channels are. So until we get to that point, SMS still has its place.
We have to come to an end. Laura just switched on the camera and I was already a bit nervous. I saw that we had to close the chat because we were getting too many questions. I'm super happy that the audience have been so participative and interested in so many different topics that are related to the messaging industry. And it goes on, or it could go on and on. I even see a question from Australia. So I'm, you know, super happy to see that we are here, minimum 4 continents today together. And yeah, and I mean, it has been a super exciting round that I personally would like to continue for another hour, to be honest. And it wouldn't get bored because we are touching so many aspects of the messaging industry that is never ending, and we have just a great audience and great panelists. Laura, I think we are hitting the end. It hurts. We would like to continue, but you tell us what to do.
Thank you very much, Jose. Thank you very much, all panelists and everyone that joined us and just shared the valuable time with us. And especially thank you for staying over and contributing even more to our session. We are looking forward to welcome you at our next session planned for the 19th of May and in our future webinars. For more information, you can check our event portal, and the panel will be soon available in recording format for you to watch it. You can find it on our CC Media portal. So again, thank you very much again, and wish you all a good health and stay safe.